Yeah, I don't know about this.
The House Oversight Committee has just released new emails from convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Some are focused on President Trump. Jay O'Brien has the details. Good morning, Jay.
Yeah, George, good morning. These are records that the department, or rather the House Oversight Committee, subpoenaed from the Epstein estate. Reams, thousands of pages worth, released this morning by Democrats on that panel, several mentioning President Trump by name.
Hello, Ballo.
This morning, the bombshell release of what House Democrats say are emails to and from deceased convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, several referring to President Donald Trump by name. In an April 2011 email released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers say Epstein wrote to his now convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, 3 years after pleading guilty to sex crimes involving a minor, telling her, "I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Unnamed victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." According to the released emails, Maxwell responds, "I have been thinking about that." But this summer, in a recorded interview with the Department of Justice, Maxwell told Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the president's former lawyer, she never witnessed Trump act inappropriately.
"I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects."
Shortly after that interview, Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison camp, prompting criticism she received special treatment. Committee Democrats...
Yeah, even if that were true, I guess I don't want to get away with this, but isn't it like absolutely fucking abnormal and odd and would make anybody would be taken aback if you're in somebody's house and there's like fucking somebody who's like underage just sitting there for like, isn't that like cause for concern or for questioning that, yo, what the fuck is that? It's like, are the parents of this person in this residence anywhere? Like, why is this person there?
Also releasing this January 2019 email where Epstein corresponds with author Michael Wolff less than 6 months before the financier would be charged again, this time with sex trafficking of minors. Discussing President Trump's repeated claim he kicked Epstein out of his Palm Beach club, Epstein writing, "Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop." President Trump has denied any knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes.
It's a hoax. It's started by Democrats.
After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump said he hadn't spoken with him in 15 years. And earlier this year, Trump claimed the reason he banned his one-time friend from Mar-a-Lago in the mid-2000s was because Epstein stole Trump's club staff, including young women.
He took people, and because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like where they steal people.
Work in what capacity?
And no response yet from the White House on the release of these emails. Meantime, right up here on Capitol Hill, in just hours, Speaker Mike Johnson will swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. The Speaker has prevented her from 7 weeks now from taking.
Keep saying it was debunked, but I feel like some of the parts that are like bad that you think are bad, you're saying might be debunked, but.
Taking her seat, she says.
A lot of this shit is just flat out just bad, though. Like, you can't debunk everything. Like, what?
One of her first orders of business will be signing that petition, providing the last signature it needs to force a vote on the House floor for the release of thousands of other pages of the Department of Justice's Epstein records. Once she does that, the clock starts ticking down to that vote, expected in the coming weeks, George.
Yeah, we're going to be...
What? The what vote? The what?
Records. Force a vote on the House floor for the release of thousands of other pages of the Department of Justice's Epstein records.
I mean, why say no at this point? I mean, there's already enough that, like, some of it was... Just why don't they just say, okay, yeah, release this shit? I don't get it. Give me an argument not to release it, unless... I mean, a lot of it is censored and shit like that anyway, so it's like... Coffeezilla talks about this, really?
Today we're talking about the...
Oh my god, it's not that long of a video, so maybe I'll watch it.
20,000 Epstein files that got released. It's a complicated picture involving a lot of powerful people, but let me just say right up front, this is an ongoing story. There's a lot that's going to be released in the coming days, so just understand we're going to do our best to explain what has been happening, because this story has been full of twists and turns. It starts with the Democrats releasing 3 emails from the Jeffrey Epstein estate. One says that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump,
Chad, what did they say? What did they say? The Democrats? Doesn't that it has to be the Democrats and the Republicans? I thought there was more people that are in this house that are Republicans, right? Therefore, they somehow would have to flip.
Victim spent hours at my house with him. Another says, the victim, Mar-a-Lago, Trump says he asked me to resign. Never a member ever, Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. And then the third email is from Michael Wolff talking about Jeffrey Epstein's association with Trump, saying you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it looks like he really could win, you could save him generating a debt. Basically implying the idea that Epstein would have some kind of compromising information on Trump. But that was just the start of it, because then after that, the GOP
these people are insane.
And they said,
the way these people speak on a common day basis is fucking insane. Like,
Democrats
is scary to think about.
Files, but they only cherry pick when they have them to generate clickbait. You deserve the full truth. And then they released over 20,000 files. Some of it had to do with Trump, some of it didn't. Importantly, 2 of the emails that were in there were some of the ones that the Democrats released, except they were unredacted in the GOP copy. And these lack of redactions are obviously very intentional. So we see first, I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And then it says, Virginia spent hours at my house with him. Now that name is really important because it's Virginia Giuffre. She was the Prince Andrew accuser, but importantly, she did not accuse Trump, rather saying that he couldn't have been friendlier. This obviously is one of the main reasons the GOP appears to have released this, because in part, they're implying that, hey, if you release this redacted, people are going to speculate who this victim was, thinking that there was something that happened, but actually the person that's in there didn't accuse Trump of something illegal. And so this is sort of the implication here, with the Democrats saying, well, you're unredacting a victim's name. So that's been the battle there. Specifically, the second email, by the way, just further confirms it. It says blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. She was one of the ones that accused Prince Andrew. In the Democrat copy, all of that.
Chad, didn't this Andrew guy only ended up getting, like, now something's happening, whatever, like fucking, like, decades after or something? Didn't they release him from the Crown? Or the, like, Cape? I don't fucking know how it works.
It's redacted because, of course, it gives away the fact that we are talking about, once again, Prince, Virginia Giuffre. Also, in these emails released by the Republicans, it says, blank worked at Mar-a-Lago. Trump knew of it, came to my house many times. He never got a massage. That's straight from Jeffrey Epstein clearing him of a massage, which obviously is the one person you most don't want to get a massage from. So, honestly, that is good for him, which is obviously why they released it. Begging the question why they didn't release it sooner. Maybe it's because they didn't want people to know that Trump knew about the girls. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the fact that Epstein is saying, hey, look, Trump publicly said that it was me that he asked to stop, but actually it was Ghislaine that he asked to stop. And my question here is, if it is Maxwell that was the one who poached Virginia Giuffre from Mar-a-Lago and then
stop the poaching
her, then why is she getting so much special treatment? I mean, that is the part where the Republicans don't look good at all. I mean, what is going on with Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex offender, trying to get a pardon, getting Todd Blanche to give her a softball interview, and then she immediately gets preferential treatment. Look, we've been over the fact that she's at basically a special prison in Bryan, Texas, where normally someone of her status wouldn't be allowed to go to because it's too nice, it's too low security. But in addition to that,
what?
New reports are saying that top officials at Camp Bryan are sick of being Maxwell's bitch. Federal law enforcement staff working in the camp have been waiting on Maxwell hand and foot, including, by the way, reportedly she's been given a puppy as part of the preferential treatment she's been receiving. Overwhelmingly, Maxwell has been getting a super nice ride in all of this. This, of course, makes us all wonder, once again, what do they have on Trump?
Yeah, let's keep it about it. Especially the way that some of these exchanges went last time, whatever, right? Like, she still has a fuck ton on other people. Let's go. I mean, I don't much. Allegedly, to what I'm seeing, it seems like this person has a lot of knows what the scums are at, whatever. Because why is she getting such a preferential treatment across the board? I don't get it.
I mean, why treat her like this if she doesn't have something compromising in all of that? It just kind of begs some questions you probably don't want to ask. Also very suspicious is the fact that immediately after this report came out, Trump personally called Rep. Lauren Boebert, urging her to withdraw support for releasing the Epstein files. Bondi, Blanche, and Patel were going to meet today about the Epstein files. This, of course, is furthering the idea the White House has no interest in this story. I think Trump tweeted multiple times today about the Epstein hoax. Again, we've heard that a million times. And the question is...
Yeah, but dude, he was so adamant, though, about releasing this shit, like, before he was elected, though. Now he's already elected. I mean, even if some outrageous things comes about him, whatever, even more, what could happen? Could it be voted out? Can they remove him?
Why are you acting so suspicious if you have nothing to hide, right? If you didn't get the massage, which Epstein says, what are you hiding? Why are you so worried about all this stuff coming out? By the way, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was actually asked about the White House pressuring people to get them not to sign for the release of the Epstein files, and her response was pretty insane.
Why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level?
This lady usually does a decent job at dismissing some of the shit, whatever. Right, playing the politics game, that was awful. That was fucking terrible. Dude, you asking a question in a condescending way like that, brother, not terrible.
Transparency when we are willing
she
to
usually
sit down
does
with
decent
members
at the
of
politics
Congress
game.
and
You guys
address
are missing the
their
point.
It shows transparency to try to go.
What I'm saying is that she usually guys, she gets squeezed a lot on a lot of stuff, and she dismisses a lot of shit decently well. You guys are being uncharitable.
In black files being released on the world's most prolific but the fact we know about it, that's the transparent part. It's just insane. I mean, that's the kind of spin we've expected with this story all along. That's been part of what's been so frustrating about all of this. So look, I want to get back to this story because there's so many people involved.
Yeah. You can't kick shit out of me. Listen, you guys said that she's bad is proving my point. That she's bad because she's not answering questions that you want the questions to be answered. That means that she's doing decent in terms of dismissing shit and skating around the fucking answers. Come on, bro.
Involved here. We're just going to go through one by one.
That means she's doing good
it's
at
a
her
lot more
job.
than just Trump. Like, one person that got kind of a weird stray in all of this was the fact that Epstein talked about Hillary doing naughties with Vince. Vince being Vince Foster, a White House counsel. There was a rumor about Clinton and Vince having some kind of affair, and then later Vince was found dead of suicide. And this is where we see Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff's kind of symbiotic relationship. Michael Wolff is a journalist who has been prolific in all of this. Well,
even then, when there's like suicides, whatever, I feel like you're leaving the world, right? Like, I don't want you to be insensitive, but I would spill the beans about fucking everything, even the most mundane shit that people don't know. Bro, I would unleash the fucking everything, dude. Are you kidding? Because what else?
I struggle to call him a journalist, actually, because as what we'll find, he was more like a PR guy for Epstein. But he was actually asking Epstein and using Epstein for a lot of access to information. Because Michael Wolff actually told Jeffrey Epstein, hey, basically, I'm interviewing him this afternoon. Anything you think I should ask? And he's talking about Trump. Epstein replies, do you want to be provocative? Michael Wolff says, job is to get the hard ones in without being ejected from the room. What's the one that pierces through?
Classic.
Jeffrey Epstein basically says, hey, you can do this softball. That's a Hillary problem. He would smile, and then you can ask about his relationship with the Electricians Union and Mar-a-Lago, and out you go. Obviously hinting to the idea that he's going to get kicked out if he asks about more sensitive subjects. Michael Wolff asks about, hey, what's up with Foster? And then he describes what that's all about. And this brings us to Michael Wolff, who I want to spend a little bit of time here on.
Who the fuck is this balder?
Although some of you may not know as much about him, you may be less interested in him. I think he's one of sort of the worst looking people in all of this. Actually, after reading these emails, he may be the most disgusting person that comes out of that. And that's saying a lot, given what's in here, but I want to just show you this because actually the Democrats initially released was this idea was that Michael Wolff and Epstein were basically planning how to respond to Epstein being brought up in the context of Trump. Michael Wolff says, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump about his relationship with you, either on air or in Scrum afterwards. Epstein says, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? That being interesting because it's like, wait, were they in touch with Trump at this time? Because Trump denied being in contact with Epstein basically since early 2000s. But anyway, if he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR or political currency. You can hang him in a way that generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey's a good guy that's gotten a raw deal and is victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime.
Guys, my mouth is louder for the clicks today, sorry.
It doesn't sound like PR, it might be something like blackmail to you. It's like kind of a little bit of both. Michael Wolff is basically conspiring to generate a debt for Jeffrey Epstein from Trump, who is about to become the most powerful person on the planet. So that's really bizarre because Michael Wolff has positioned himself as sort of this truth teller about Jeffrey Epstein and he's got all these tapes that he's gonna release showing how close Trump and Epstein were, but it's like behind the scenes he was actually kind of running PR for Epstein, which is sort of the worst thing you could have ever done. This is in 2016. Michael Wolff is talking to Epstein about a Patterson book, which later becomes the James Patterson Filthy Rich book. He says basically that would present some time issues if it was released too early. You would not be able to do a competing book or documentary before then. That's not to say it shouldn't be pursued. In a sense, better to know what Patterson's position is and a year from now be able to counter it. In 2016, he's playing like PR, I'm going to fix your rep.
Chad, the people that voted and shit like that, why aren't they up in arms and mad about some of this shit? Like, They were promised that some of this shit was going to be released regardless of anything, right? During the presidency. I feel like they should, or if I had voted, I'd be mad. I would be mad.
Reputation, Jeffrey Epstein. He then says, that being said, if you need an immediate counter to the book, I believe Trump offers an ideal opportunity. It's a chance to make the story about something other than you while at the same time letting you frame your own story. Also, becoming an anti-Trump voice gives you a certain political cover, which you decidedly don't have now. And so again, we get the idea of him kind of scheming to get Epstein cover, which is so bad because now Michael Wolff is like, oh, we're the guy exposing Trump's connections to Epstein. It's like, buddy, what are your connections to Epstein? Then we have later them discussing a lawsuit against Epstein and Donald Trump with a woman claiming that she was Michael Wolff responds, well, I guess if there's anyone who can wave this away.
At this point, this is like it's being all around the pot, whatever. It's being around the bush. Dude, a lot of these guys were way too close to waste too many of these events at way too many locations, whatever, for them to be completely fucking...
Is it a good time for a second stream yet?
Innocent of anything. Brother, talking about like mega hotspot hubs of fucking mega crime for such a long... come on, bruh.
It's Donald. Let me know if there's anything I can do. Again, why are you trying to do something for a man accused of these things? It really seems like Michael Wolff was kind of running cover here. Now, I also want to talk about the Prince Andrew Trump.
It's like if you go to your boy's house like fucking 50 times, whatever, you're there like every fucking Sunday or something like that, right? And you're in the living room every time. And then, oh, guys, apparently this was a mega operation where they sell weed, grow weed, smoke weed, and like, well, I was there every time, and I never even had the smell of a weed. I don't even know that there even was a weed in this place. Like, bro, okay, dude, okay.
Scandal that appears to have been brewing here, at least is implied in the emails. You may see some people say that Epstein met Trump and Prince Andrew back in 2019, which, of course, would be well after Trump said they had no contact, which would be bad news for Trump. In fact, there's a few things in here which suggest that Epstein had contact with Trump. Of course, we don't know for sure. I'll just present you the evidence we do have. So this is back in 2019, June 3rd. They're talking about London, about London real estate, about how financials are going to leave. Then Epstein says, once they are gone, the monarchy is dependable. Saying Prince Andrew and Trump today, too funny. And this is actually the same day that Trump and Andrew are spotted in London, of course, meeting together. Jeffrey Epstein says, recall Prince Andrew's accuser came out of Mar-a-Lago, Virginia Giuffre. Then we have a sender that's blacked out, but I think there's strong evidence that it's Steve Bannon, by the way, just to give you some context. They say, can't believe nobody is making
Trump
you
pardoned young
the
boy.
connective tissue.
When?
So the connective tissue between these two being Epstein. And then Epstein replies, F&B only. Now later, Jeffrey Epstein says, report from London. Donald now thinks he's king. Ivanka a princess. He doesn't need advisors. Bannon says, yep, London trip not good. He had a gleam in his eye. Of course, this hinting at the idea that Epstein was there. He got a report from London, if he's talking about Prince Andrew and Trump, or that's how people are coming to that conclusion, at least. And then we have the thread that makes us know this is Steve Bannon, which is he gives a link where it says Steve Bannon believes Trump obstructed justice. Michael Wolff says, he says, BBC crushed him. He should give it up. The book is going to be a stiff. I don't know if he senses that. Epstein replies, unfortunately, I do know his comments have encouraged some to look to you for answer. This all being about an article about Steve Bannon, obviously. And then Steve Bannon says, Burke says, I have zero to worry about. Now, if you don't know who Burke is...
Chad, they're releasing waves of this shit, right? The House passed whatever, and then they release... Chad, what dictates what they release? Like, it seems like sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's like nothing burgers. I don't really understand it. Like, why? Oh, security levels?
He's a lawyer who previously defended Steve Bannon. Epstein then replies, good but unnecessary. Should I call Michael Wolff? Bannon says, what are you going to say to him? He's a wild animal caught in a trap. Epstein says, catch his breath. Bannon says, tell him to lay off me. It's both not working and not helping. Okay. Done. Again, this is all in the context of Michael Wolff talking about Steve Bannon, and then he says, hey, tell him to back off. This is furthering the idea that Epstein, Bannon, Michael Wolff, they all had a close relationship, which is mostly public knowledge, but we see exactly how close. Now, in addition to this, I also wanted to note this very strange interaction between these two, where Epstein sends a news article about George Nader being basically caught up in some child pornography charges, and then Bannon says, not cool. Epstein, mandatory minimum 15. Bannon says, EBZ must have coughed him up.
These old people, there's so many nice things to do with life that's left to do, right? I mean, they could do so many things. They have a lot of money. They could have the world. And they choose to sit in these dark rooms with fucking underage people. I don't really understand it, man. Like,
how did he get extradited? He could have stayed in UAE forever. Epstein says he was not extradited. He was duped. Bannon. WTF. Epstein. There is his bail hearing today, currently in Brooklyn. Doesn't look good. Pre-trial detention. Now, I personally got it strange that they were so concerned about the fate of someone caught up in such horrible charges. We'll also talk about the Thanksgiving message. This one got a lot of attention, which is that Epstein was going to Thanksgiving, and he was asked, where are you having Thanksgiving? He says, Eva. This lady, Faith Cates, replies, he's such a snooze. Who else is down there? He replies, David Fizzle, Hansen, Trump. And once again, Trump claims that he was not in contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the early 2000s. He said, hey, I cut him off. I realized he was a bad guy. And if Epstein's having Thanksgiving with him, that's obviously a problem. Now, I don't have any public confirmation for that outside of these emails, which are basically talking about it, implying it. Once again, the same is true of Prince Andrew. Do you actually think these emails are about him actually seeing them, or is he just reporting on it? It's kind of hard to know, but I just want you to know what's out there. You also should know about the foreign governments that Epstein was working with. In one email, you have Jeffrey Epstein talking about advising a Russian ambassador.
Welcome to the jungle, XQC.
Interesting. What, can you watch a video normally? There's nothing else.
Great.
Nothing else.
He understood Trump after our conversations. It's not complex. And Churkin was a Russian ambassador at the time until he died.
This
and
is
then
from
you also
the
have
Epstein
Israel. There are a bunch of public
estate, not the
reports
government. I know
about
that
Israel being implicated with Epstein, how spies stayed with him at the time, and some of them even met at Epstein's house.
Whoa,
and then you also have some
spies!
Between Epstein and a UAE royal, a sultan. So Epstein was rubbing shoulders with the top cream of the crop of our society. I mean, I don't think that should come as a shock. We should also probably talk about Larry Summers. He was in an article, Mogul Donor Gives Harvard More Than Money. And then he is in emails with Larry Summers, where Epstein tells him, when we meet, I will endeavor to mesmerize you with stories of D.C. So wild. And then Larry Summers said, I am trying to figure out why American elite think if you murder your baby by beating and abandonment, it must be irrelevant to your admission at Harvard. But hit on a few women 10 years ago and can't work.
These people are insane. I feel like they manufacture scenarios and shit like that to like gain some debt or some one-up on people or some leverage. This shit's at a level that I don't think a lot of people even understand. Like, this is like some
network
or
fucking
think tank psycho shit.
This insight. Oops. Now everybody has it. So there you go. I mean, that's a high-level snapshot of what we saw in this release. Lots of people being implicated in one way or another. It's quite varied. I mean, you know, some people you find out they've been playing a journalist but have been secretly running PR cover for Epstein, like well after, you know, you kind of knew he was implicated in a lot of this stuff. Other people like Clinton are catching strays on, you know, affairs that they were having. Trump gets a mixed bag where initially the implication that he was kind of given was revealed to be not quite correct because they're talking about Virginia Giuffre, although it still is a mystery why he's behaving so strangely regarding Ghislaine Maxwell, why he's trying extensively to block the Epstein files. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. Instead, I just want to break down what we do know so far. As always, we've all been just looking to get to the end of
this is interesting. I guess I will have to wait till the next wave of things get released and somebody does a breakdown because I cannot be fucked to do all that. Oh. What is that? Why are you giving me this?
Clear up. Wait. Here!